Welcome back. You are watching the AI report right here on News 9, and with Budget 2026 just around the corner, what are the expectations of the AI sector from Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman? Let's break this down for our viewers. And in fact, we have joining us on this edition of the AI report a very special guest. We have Mr. Jaspreet Singh joining us from Grant Thronton Bharat. Mr. Singh, thank you so much for taking the time. And first up, I think, a very obvious open-ended question. There are expectations running high, but we know as we sit right now, just days away from Budget 2026, AI in the last 1 year has pretty much disrupted life and disrupted workplaces as we know them. Now, there was, of course, an R&D budget allocation last year, and there have been many talks and many expectations on GCCs becoming employment hubs as far as skilled AI workforce goes. But overall, what are the fixed expectations from Finance Minister as we head into Budget 2026?
Good morning. Thanks for having me here. I think, as you rightly said, we are at a very tipping point, right, from an AI perspective. If we cross this tipping point well, our dreams of becoming a Viksit Bharat by 2047 will probably come much earlier. There are 3-4 very clear expectations from a budget perspective, from an AI perspective. Number one is the 2,000 crore corpus, which was distributed as part of the India AI mission, could see more traction. There could be a lot of investment in the power sector from a data centers perspective, because everybody is going to talk about compute. Compute is one of the larger challenges that any AI organization face. There could be benefits in terms of tax SOPs to startups from a deep tech perspective. It could also lead to a lot of infrastructure priorities, a lot of priorities around tax, startup initiatives.
Right. So we've heard, in fact, Minister Ashwini Vaishnav at Davos saying that India is not a second-tier AI nation and is pretty much, in the top 5. But more importantly, he also mentioned the 5 layers of AI. Now, if you break down those 5 layers of artificial intelligence, which of those layers requires the maximum support from the government right now? Would it be at the core infrastructure level, or would it be at the top application? Which is the one which is likely to create more jobs and keep India in the race towards at least trying to conquer some AI hegemony in the world?
Interesting question, right? All these 5 layers go hand in glove with each other. But if I were to put up the 2 most important layers, I think infrastructure priority would be very important to give the boost from an AI development perspective to help bring compute power, data centers to India. We just heard about the entire AI GCC story.
Right.
But the entire applications around, can we have more center of excellences from education perspective, from an R&D perspective, health, pharma perspective, which would then lead to a lot of job creation, because the application layer will then increase.
Right.
But first, it's very important to have the basic infrastructure, the basic compute in place if we were to really be one of the top 5 countries and not use somebody else's developed models.
Right, of course. So that, of course, continues to be a big challenge for India, given the fact that India has not really been at the cutting edge of developing AI models and AI applications. But now, if you were to look at, let's say, the first layer, which is providing for that infrastructure, the compute power, how much of the heavy lifting do you think the government should do by way of allocations, by way of, let's say, Budget 2026? And how much should it be in terms of, let's say, tax incentives to corporate India to make those investments?
On the first question, I think government should pump in more money from a power, from a compute perspective, to make sure that basic compute is available for organizations to start R&D on developing their own SLMs, convert them into LLMs, etc. Could also introduce PLI schemes from a AI perspective, It could be a new one where, a lot of digital infrastructure reforms could take place because of that.
Right.
And on the second perspective, we could look at some of the other countries where they've given a 15% flat tax on startups who are, or even give a tax heaven kind of thing for a few years for startups that are investing in AI and developing applications that we can take to the entire world.
All right. So, of course, those are the tax incentives that the government can offer specifically on skilling, specifically on AI training to the youth of the country, because employment, again, continues to be a challenge. And while there are fears that AI could take away jobs, there are also expectations that AI could create new kinds of jobs as well. So, specifically on AI training, AI skill development, to ensure that there is a larger adoption, not just of users of AI, but also towards creation of AI. What would be some of those incentives that the government could provide for skill development leading to eventual job creation and creation of future employers for AI?
Again, I would say very pertinent question looking at the way our country is headed to from an AI perspective. On the first piece, I think last year there was an announcement of three center of excellences. Education was not one of them. I think we could create more center of excellences from an AI perspective. Look at engineering colleges, tie up, make AI labs accessible to a lot more people in the country from that perspective. Second is introduce AI curriculum pretty early in schools. Government can mandate some of those pieces. The National Skills Development Corporation can play a huge, huge role in understanding and taking AI to the masses. Currently, fortunately, unfortunately, a lot of AI skilling is happening in tier one, tier two cities at the max. But
Right.
if we include rural India or take tier three cities, this could have a massive impact on the job creation from a future of jobs perspective by 2030. And last but not the least, we could also look at code developing AI programs or AI universities, because one of the main if you look at for example the demand that today some of the more developed countries has,
Yeah.
somebody who understands AI or an AI programmer or somebody who can write AI prompts, they call
Yeah.
them prompt engineer, is
Right.
the most sought after job.
All
So
right.
that's also creating new avenues from a future of jobs perspective.
Absolutely. Well, let's leave it at that for this edition. Mr. Jaspreet Singh, partner at Grant Thronton Bharat, thank you so much for taking the time and really laying out your AI wish list from Budget 2026. We promise to invite you back after the budget speech that the Finance Minister delivers on the 1st of Feb to see how many of your recommendations and suggestions actually made it to the speech. But for now, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
And with that, we come to an end of yet another edition of the AI Report. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, news continues right here on News 9.